idea of victims to victor. And the way that is fixed up, here's what Paul has brought to light in my life. Here's what he brought to light in my life, and it's going to help you too. Paul said to that church at Corinth, he said, I'm convinced that God has put me on display. I'm convinced that what God wants out of me, he wants me to spend myself on your behalf. He says, I'm convinced that what God wants from me, he wants me to be the victim if it's going to help you to be victorious. I hope somebody's listening. Before you scratch what I'm saying, because you might be thinking I'm talking about just preachers and laity. But in all of our lives, I'm telling you, if you look back over your shoulder, you're going to discover somebody was willing to be a victim in order that you could be victorious. And here this month, when you talk about black history, and I was listening to these young people talking about their first and second cousin, but everybody in here has had somebody. You've had somebody that was willing to suffer in order that you could enjoy life better. When I wanna just slow down long enough to just say I thank God for my parents. And you ought to thank him for yours. And you say, well, Pastor, your parents still living, mine's gone on. Well, if your parents are gone on, don't matter. You still need to thank God for your parents. Thank God for your parents. Oh, Lord. I said, thank God for your parents. They were willing to be victims. How many of you right now trying to rear some children? And right now you're suffering, but you don't mind suffering if you can watch your children get ahead. Now all that sounds good and all of it is true, but I would be insulting to God's divine plan if I didn't tell you, oh yes, there's another one who didn't mind being a victim in order for the rest of us to be victorious. He didn't mind giving his hands to be nailed to a cross. He didn't mind giving his side to receive a spear. He didn't mind giving up the ghost and dying and was buried in a borrowed grave, but he did it for us to become victors. Don't you dare sit there. Don't you dare sit there without giving heaven some thank you, without giving heaven some praise. Not only did he die for us to be victorious, because if he'd have stayed dead, if he'd have remained in the grave, they'd have had a party in hell that would still be going on. But when the grave and death realized Sunday morning they had something too hot to handle, they realized on Sunday morning that dead folk normally don't move, but this man. And then I'm going to throw this in for good measure. The Bible said when he got up, his grave clothes were undisturbed. You see, when I get up to do something, you can tell I've been struggling with it, because I'm going to have a piece of garment over there and a piece of garment over there. But everything that wrapped Jesus up, when he decided to get up, he left it just like it was. His grave clothes undisturbed. It's like all that bad suit that Vivian's got on right there. And then when the Lord rose, that suit looked just like that, but wasn't nobody in it. He didn't mind being a victim for us to be victorious. I can't help being loud, y'all. I can't help shouting, y'all, because something keeps telling me I'm victorious. Yeah, I got some bills I gotta pay. I got some pains that won't leave, but I'm victorious. Please understand this. Paul gave this big long list, and I'm going to put this into one nutshell. Paul says, we don't mind being fools if it's going to make you wise. We don't mind becoming weak if it's going to make you strong. We don't mind being despised if it's going to make you be a person of honor. We'll accept discomfort. We'll endure any form of abuse. And then he said in that 13th verse, we'll even take on being treated like the scum of the earth if it's going to let you walk with your head up. I got to slide this in on you now. I want you to understand, I believe in everybody's heart. You ought to be encouraged by this. Because one of the things that keep you from cleaning house, one of the things that keep you from doing what you ought to do, is that you feel so overwhelmed. And sometimes you feel like no matter how hard you work at it, it looks like you take one step forward, something pushes you 2 steps back. But I want you to take heart on this Lord's Day. And I want you to make up in your mind that you don't care which way the wind blows. You know in whom you believe. And if God's going to use you to help somebody else, let it happen. If the only way up for Messiah Church is to step on top of Clifton Rhodes, then consider me your stepping stone. That's what Paul is saying. That's what he's saying. What a thought. Would you just take heart? Would you just take heart? No matter how rough it looks, just take heart. Life is a battle. Life is a battle.